It's another special menu today in the sartorial kitchen as I go over my aunt's friend's house for a luscious lunch. Kicking things off, it's my French onion soup. Then I'm making French dip sandwiches with a roasted garlic aioli. And last but not least, dessert, raspberry cream cheese puffs with raspberries out of my garden. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with us?
Everybody, we are in Kim's kitchen, my aunt's friend. I know her too, I haven't seen her in years though. But I found out my aunt is a huge fan of my show and wanted to do an episode with me. But I told her, I said, we can't film in your kitchen. It's a hot mess, no offense. She said, that's fine because my friend Kim, you can come over and cook at her house. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I sent her an itinerary of what I was doing this season, and she chose the French dip, which I'm very excited about. So I'm starting out with my meat here. This is short ribs. I'm searing them in the skillet just to get a little color, just a couple minutes on each side, and then they're going to go in my pressure cooker with a lot of lovely flavors. So I'm just going to start here with a little salt and pepper just to get things started. Okay, while that meat cooks down, I'm going to start on my onions. So one of these, I'm going to take, I just want part of it, it's going to go in with the meat just to add some extra flavor. I'm just going to kind of cut it into segments. And then the rest I'm going to julienne for the soup. So normally I leave both ends of the onion on, but this time we're slicing the onions. So I'm taking both ends off, and I'm just going to come down. Slice it pretty thin. I want everything to be kind of the same size so it cooks the same and eats the same. And then you get nice little shreds of onion. Okay, I finished the onions. I've got some garlic here. This head is going to be for the sauce I'm making for the sandwiches. This one I have already begun to break down. I just broke it apart, and then to get the skin off, you just give it a little smash there with the back side of your hand, and the skin comes right off. Now some of these are going to go with these onions here to develop the flavor for our beef. And then the rest I'm going to chop up for the soup. So I usually just pull, slice off this bottom part, it's kind of bitter, and then just come in here, just finely mince it. Just run my knife back and forth. Too big of pieces, it's going to be kind of bitter to bite into with the soup. It's just going to add lots of flavor. And now I think we're ready to take our meat off. Alright, this beef is smelling good. I'm just going to give it a little flip. You can see it's getting a nice caramelization on it. And we're getting those nice brown bits in the bottom of the pan here. That's going to be the base of the flavor for our soup. So I'm going to reuse this pan for the soup. And now that it's flipped, I'm going to season this side as well. Just salt and pepper, keep it simple. Alright. Yeah, this looks good. We'll move that off the heat just for a second. And this is going to go right into the Instapot. So I've got those onion pieces that I chopped, that's going to go right in. And our whole garlic pieces. So I have a few other things here. I have my bundle of thyme. This is from Out of the Garden. I'm going to leave it whole. When it cooks through, I can just pull the stem out and all the leaves will be dispersed. And then I've got my broth here. You can use beef broth if you want, but we had a little happy accident. We forgot the broth. So we've got soup mix here. You just follow the instructions on the package. I think it's about 2 cups per packet, which I have here, and I just need about a cup. Really just enough to cover the meat, about halfway up. And we're fancy today. I've got some wine here. This is a rich red blend, Barefoot, my favorite brand. And I just want about a couple tablespoons of that. It's going to give a nice rich flavor to our meat. The rest is, well, not the whole thing, but I'll be using some in the soup as well. And some Worcestershire. That's how I pronounce it anyways. And about a teaspoon of that. And this thing's great. It's like the rice cooker. If you've seen me work with that before, you just get the lid on and it locks in place. And then plug it in. This doesn't have an on-off, so I don't plug it in until I'm ready to go. And you tell it what you're fixing here, meat. And it just does its own thing, and it'll tell you when it's ready. It'll start beeping. You let the seal loose, and you're ready to go. Okay, so we're moving on to our aioli. If you've never had an aioli before, it's basically just a flavored mayonnaise. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm not making my own mayonnaise, but I'm going to flavor it myself. Now you can take garlic powder and things like that and do it yourself, but I want it to be fancy. I've got a whole bulb of garlic here. I basically just sliced enough off the top to expose the garlic. And then you want to make sure that you peel it really good. And then I've got just some foil here. I'm going to take just a little olive oil and cover the top. And then you wrap it up. Pull up the sides and just enclose it. That's going to go in the oven. I've already set it to 400 degrees. This is going to go for about 25 to 30 minutes. And it's going to be nice and rich inside, and it's going to kind of almost ooze out like butter. Now it's soup time. I've got some butter. I've got some oil. We've already got a little oil in here. I'm going to add just a little more. And then my butter. I just want a couple tablespoons. So the oil, that's going to give us the cooking temperature we want for the onions, and the butter is going to give us flavor. And I just want about a couple tablespoons. And we're going to swirl that around. Let that melt down. Let's grab our onions and our garlic. I know it's a lot of onions here, but this is an onion soup, so we want lots of onion. And just kind of break them up. They should come apart. I'm going to wait to add the garlic because it cooks faster and it'll burn. So I'm going to let these onions cook down first. And I'm just going to give it a little stir at first and just really get it coated and all that loveliness from earlier. You can see the butter and the oil. And the onions, they're picking up all those little brown bits from the beef. Just nice and flavorful. We're going to continue our seasoning process. More salt and more pepper. So the salt brings out the natural sweetness of the onions. It also helps pull that moisture out, so they're going to cook down for us faster. And the pepper is going to give a nice richness. And then I just give it another little stir to make sure everything's well coated. And then we're just gonna let that cook down for a little bit, and then we'll be ready to add our garlic. Alright, dessert time. I'm prepping, this is a really simple dessert actually. And it's also good for like breakfast. It's gonna be like almost like a cinnamon roll type thing, but we're doing cream cheese and we're doing raspberry jam. Now I just spread a little flour on the board, and I'm going to do a little on top just to keep this from sticking. And I'm also going to throw a little here on the rolling pin here. So this puff pastry, I used some last season, and then I kept the rest in the freezer, and I thought, you know, I really should do something with that. And I hadn't decided if I was going to do dessert today or not. And I thought, you know, this would be the perfect opportunity. And this is the simplest dessert. You can make your own pastry, but it's a lot easier to buy the pastry already made. And I'm just rolling this out about an inch or so all the way around. Okay, that's pretty good. And the other thing, this is like a 3-ingredient dessert, so it's really simple. So I'm starting with some cream cheese here. You want to make sure it's nice and soft. If it's too hard, it's going to tear your pastry as you go to spread it. So I'm just going to take some and plop it down. You're probably going to need about half this container, maybe a little more, depending on how far you roll it out. Okay, that's pretty good. And literally, I'm just going to take this, almost like you're smearing a bagel, and I stop just shy of the edge. And you just want a nice, light, even layer all the way across. And just come through and spread all that out. Alright, so there's the cream cheese. So we're going to take some of the jam now. This is raspberry jam with raspberries from my backyard. Exciting. And then just like the cream cheese, you're going to take this and spread it out. Just a nice even layer. I think I'm going to use this whole container, but it's going to be worth it. So now we're going to take this, and this is why I floured the bottom of the counter here so it doesn't stick, and then you're just going to roll it up, almost like you're doing, like I said, cinnamon roll. And just, I try to keep it nice and tight. Okay, now, try and rinse my hands a little bit. They get a little sticky. I have a muffin tin here that I've greased. And then what we're going to do is take a knife, and we're just going to cut these into little segments, about a ½ inch thick. And then you're just going to take them and stick them right into the muffin tin, and then you get lovely little beautiful cream cheese cranberry rolls. I'm going to pop this in the fridge until I'm ready to bake them off, and we're going to finish the soup. Look at these onions, they have cooked down beautifully. They got a lot of color on them. Time to add the garlic. I always add my garlic last because I don't want it to burn. And just make sure that it's broke up nicely. And then we're just going to stir that around. And the garlic's only going to cook for about a minute or so. And then we'll start adding our other things here. Love the smell of garlic. As soon as it hits this pan, it just becomes very fragrant. Some more of the wine from earlier. And the rest of our broth. Okay, so I'm going to start with the wine because I want to let that cook out some. I just want the flavor of it. And we're just going to do about a half cup. That looks good. Just so you see it coat the bottom of the pan. We'll save the rest to drink. And then just, I let that reduce a little. It's almost going to become jam like with the onions. And that's when you know the liquor's cooked off, and then we'll add our broth. And just let that cook down as we continue the rest of ours. Become very nice, very jam-like. It's going to be very flavorful. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in. Now remember, this has the soup mix in it, so we're getting more onion. And I'm going to add just a little water. We've got a little left there in the bottom. And then I'm just going to stir that around just to kind of let that come along. Then we're going to turn it down just a little and cover it. I'm just going to, everything's pretty much done. I'm just going to let that broth come to temp, let it kind of boil a little bit, and we will move on to the aioli for our sandwiches. Alright, so we've got our garlic here. I pulled it out of the oven. And just look, it's gotten nice and caramelized, gorgeous. So we're going to take that, and we should be able to just give it a squeeze. And all that garlic, yeah, look at that. It just comes out like butter. And if you want, you can kind of take a spoon and scoop it out. Just want to make sure I get all that good flavor out of there. So good. Now to that, you can't have a flavored mayonnaise without mayonnaise. I'm not brand specific on mayonnaise, whatever's on sale, whatever looks good. And I want about a half cup. It's just enough for the sandwiches. Okay. Also has some Dijon, just a very little bit of this. It's very strong. About a half teaspoon. And some salt and pepper. And just come in here with your spoon and stir it up. And that mustard and that garlic, you can see it's giving a nice rich color here. Just make sure you stir in that garlic really well. Oh, it smells amazing. Give it a taste now to make sure it's where we want it. Oh yeah. That's good. So we can start assembling our sandwiches and we'll be ready to go. Alright, so I thought it would be fun to do sliders. I got King's Hawaiian slider, so they're a little bigger than like the rolls. I'm going to start with the aioli here. And just kind of spread that out. It's a nice even layer. I want every bite of sandwich to have lots of flavor. And don't be afraid to go to the edges with this. Okay, so the cheeses, I have some provolone and some mozzarella. That's going to go on top. We're going to toast these in the oven a little bit. I want the cheese to get nice and bubbly. And the bread's going to get kind of nice and hard, and then our sauce is just going to really enhance those flavors. Alright, this is ready. I'm going to pop it in the oven. I've still got it at 400 degrees. It's just going to go for about 8 to 10 minutes. I'm going to keep an eye on it. And then we'll get our meat out. Alright, so this has finished here. And we've released it, let all the steam out. I'm just going to pull the lid off. And you can see down inside of here, everything is cooked down nicely. I'm going to pull some things out here. So our thyme bundle, and you can see all the leaves came off of that and you still have the stem on. That's why I leave it together. And then let's pull out our meat. Yeah, it's kind of broken down a little bit. I didn't want it too tender, I just wanted enough where it's going to go on the sandwiches nicely. Alright, so to finish these guys off, and I had them in the fridge so they would stay nice and firm until we're ready to bake them off. I'm just kind of pushing them down so they're a nice even layer. So I'm going to do one thing before I throw these in because I want them to have some texture and a nice color to them. So I've got an egg wash here, which is just egg and water. And I'm just going to brush the top so they get a lovely golden brown. And when those puff up, they're just going to get nice and caramelized and golden on top. Okay, so we're not done with this broth yet. I'm going to take this right over here, and it is going to join our soup. I'm just going to pour that in. Wonderful. And the soup, it's been cooking for a while. I did turn it down to low. I'm just going to stir that in. One, it stretches out the soup, and then we get even more flavor from that beef, so it just really comes full circle. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. I think it's ready to go, and let's put our sandwiches together. Okay, so I've let the meat rest a little bit. I'm just going to come in here. I'm not like shredding this, I just want to kind of pull it apart so it goes on the sandwich better. So I'm just using the tongs to hold it, and then just kind of break it up a little. Okay, I think that's good. Let's grab our sandwiches from the oven. The cheese is nice and melted. Our sauce has gotten down into the bread. That bread's got some nice texture to it. Perfect. So now we just take our meat, and I'm just going to spread it out evenly over the bottom half here. This is kind of why I break it up, so you can see how it kind of lays out. I want to make sure every piece of bread gets a nice helping of the meat. Flip this over. Look at that cheese pull.
Oh, yeah.
Fancy. Perfect. And the other good thing about the sliders is it tells you cut. So you just come through here. Like that. I think we'll do 2 sandwiches each. And I think we're ready to plate up. Time to dig in. I'm going to start with the soup. See how those onions have cooked down nicely? They just melt in your mouth. And I'm going to get some of that broth. Nice and rich and flavorful. Now let's come in here with our sandwich. So normally with a French dip, you have like a jus, but I thought, why not let the soup be the jus? Because a French onion soup, you usually put bread on top and cheese, and it bakes in the oven. But I thought this is like having 2 in 1. So good. Meat's nice and juicy. Can't go wrong with cheese. And that aioli just gives it a nice little extra kick. Absolutely delicious. So we're going to finish up here, and then it'll be time for desserts. And I'm going to take some sugar. I'm just going to sprinkle a little sugar on top of each one. It's going to give it a nice sheen. Perfect. So, I've already got the oven preheated to 400 from earlier. These are going to go in for about 12 to 15 minutes. You can check them. You just want to make sure that the pastry is cooked through. I'm going to go ahead and set the timer on that. And we will check them in a little while. Okay, moment of truth. Ooh, look at those. Beautiful golden brown. They've puffed up nicely. I'm going to let these cool, and we will be ready to dig in. Oh, these turned out beautiful. I've let them cool, and I just ran my spatula along the side to pull them out. Just look at that. They're nice and flaky, and then they're soft in the middle with that cream cheese and the raspberry. So good. Alright, dessert time. Cream cheese raspberry.
Ooh, they look delicious.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yes. Oh.
So just everybody help themselves.
Well, you know which one I'm taking, that one right there.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my.
Some works. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Oh yes.
automatically you hear that crunch. And then the inside just has that luscious soft filling. So good.
Chewy.
A quick little dessert. They're good for breakfast too. You can make like a little glazed egg on top. I just thought I'd keep them simple for now. Well, I thank you guys for joining us once again. As always, like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comments section, and until next time.